Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here with Tank12. Have been calling me, I don't really care, and welcome back to World of Tanks. Just give me 1 second. I'm just trying to figure out the settings that I'm currently running and if everything is okay. So yeah, this live stream today is a bit spontaneous because I do have some free time on my hands right now, and I wanted to take a closer look and check out patch 1.13. This patch was just released 2 days ago, or 1 day ago actually, and it has some major changes with it. One of the changes is that artillery is now going to get two additional arty shell types. We have another version of high explosive, and we have AP shells. We're going to test out artillery in just a few moments. Then we're also going to be testing out a couple of very um, yeah, different vehicles with the high explosive changes. So we're going to be playing the KV2, we're going to be playing the FV183, and we're going to be seeing just what is going to be happening with the current meta. So yeah, I'm not really sure what has happened with the patch. I haven't really read all the patch notes. There was a lot of information beforehand, but I didn't really get too deep into that because, in my opinion, I didn't really want to. I didn't really want to. Yeah, get too invested into the high explosive changes because a lot of the changes were just not readily available, or at least they always had different ideas, and during the test phase they were changing a couple of things around as well. So I wasn't really sure what I should think of the changes at that moment, but now we have the final version in the game. This is no longer the test server, and we're going to be trying out just how well these changes are going to be impacting the game. So first and foremost, we're going to be trying out artillery. If you know me at all, if you have watched my videos on YouTube, you know that I'm not a big fan of artillery. But I do still have at least two tier 10 artillery pieces. We have the Object 261 and we have the American T92 HMC. Now the HMC is actually an artillery piece that I've played quite a few times because it obviously has the biggest gun in the game, and you can see it's if we are considering battles, it's one of the tanks that is in the, let's say, at least top 20 of most played vehicles in my in my play history. You can see the M4043 is also in there, mainly because of the arty missions that I had to do. Also, the M43 is a nice artillery piece. So yeah, if I do play artillery or if I do enjoy artillery, I am usually either playing the HMC or I'm playing the Object 261. I don't really play the M4043 as often as I used to, and I don't really play any other artillery at all. But we'll have to figure out what is the best for the game. So we're going to do that right now. Okay, so haven't really played a lot of the Object 261. I will have to upgrade my crew a little bit, but we'll do that as soon as we reach 100%. But let's jump right into the game and see what has happened with the changes in 1.13. Yeah, when you're playing already, it always takes a while to get into the game. Okay. Not a very good kind of matchup. At least I'm not a big fan of this map.
Выдвигаемся на позиции.
So let's see. We have 3 different arty shell types. The famous AP shell makes a return. We're gonna go over into the middle part of the map because nobody is really guarding the valley. And there's also high explosive shell that does more damage but doesn't have any kind of stun feature. So we're just gonna see if we can get some shots into the middle part right here. First shell is a standard high explosive shell that we also have been able to use for at least 3 years now. And if we can, taking out this wheeled little rat would be the best thing. That really depends on if we get a shot or not. But I think we're just gonna go for this E50M because he's also getting quite dangerously close to me.
Попадание в модуль.
We maybe have a bit of a problem because this E50M just decided to bum rush me. And now I have to get out of here. I'm not a very good artillery player, just so you know. So let's see if we can do anything with an AP shell. We're gonna load an AP shell next. But first, let's see if we can get this EBR. Nah, whatever, it doesn't really matter.
Попадание по модулю.
Splash him, see if our team can hurt him in that position. But at the same time, it looks like that the AP shells has a different trajectory than the high explosive shell. That's something that they also mentioned, so we cannot really curve it around the hill as well as we can with the high explosive shell. But we can still make it work. We'll probably have to move our position though again, because they're actually flanking us right now on the minimap, you can see it. Okay, we should be safe here. Let's see if we can assist them when they're crossing. Hitting this AIM X50B would really do a lot of damage because this guy doesn't have a lot of armor. But we'll need to see if we can actually get him into the dip. Probably have to switch to shell type again, but we don't really have a target right there. Maybe we can do some damage here. It's probably that. Yeah, not a lot of stuff has happened in this game, so Not a very interesting round. We weren't even able to test our high explosive secondary shell or the AP shell. But maybe we can make it work right here in the back because there's a leopard and we have to reposition again. I'm just gonna tell our team that we're gonna move over here. Can't really do that with artillery, unfortunately. So I'm just gonna drive down there and hope that I can get into the position. Gonna put it into the chat as well. Go right there and then we can hit the base. Because this game does look quite close in the end still. We lost quite a few tanks pushing the cap of the enemy team. There are at least 3 to 4 guys sitting in there, and if they're hauled down, our team can't really do anything. So what we could do right now is we can either use AP shells or high explosive shells, well, the second high explosive shell, because we want to maximize the damage, and we want to not really stun them, because stunning right now in this scenario wouldn't really do us any good. But we cannot pen a Kranwagen or a T-123 from the front, even with AP shells of 200 and something millimeters pen. But what we can do is we can try. I mean, we can definitely try. If he just gives me the side right there. That was an AP shell, and it actually did about 466 damage. I expected a bit more. Okay, so the average is 520. Okay, so it does fall into the category of the RNG. And we're just gonna try to hit that Kranwagen now. Our EBR will need some assistance, but our reload is decent enough, so we should be able to help out this guy. So we're just gonna miss, I guess. But let's just try to whittle down this Kranwagen, and then we can see... Actually, we can hit this E3 in the back. And we just lost our only flanking tank, so that's not very good. So, okay. I think next round should be a stun shell, so we can stun these guys when our team needs to push. I don't know where that shot went, but it didn't really do anything, and we have to move. There's a 1-2-1B coming in for us. So yeah, this is a really uncomfortable situation because the 1-2-1B is going to be chasing us. We're gonna drive away, we're gonna reposition. We hope that he won't be able to spot us, but there's no guarantee. And now our team is kind of stuck in that valley. So if we can just get into the arty mode, we can actually see what's happening. They are currently in advantage, so there are more tanks on our sides. We should be able to go around, get to the back, and survive this whole ordeal with this 1-2-1B still chasing us. I can imagine that he wants to kill. So he is probably faster in the long term, so we have to be careful that we don't run into his path somewhere. If he's smart, he's just driving down the middle, or maybe the middle road is blocked. He won't fit through. No, he actually will be able to fit through. But I can tell my team that he's somewhere in the city, probably. I haven't been spotted, so he hasn't seen us. Could be, I don't know, saving his repair costs. That's also an option. But it's kind of weird that he is not moving into the base, or that we haven't actually seen him, or he hasn't seen us. Usually we light up like a candle very quickly, so I guess that's a plus. Let's just get into this dip and see if he turns up. Let's get into the artillery view. See if he appears. Oh, there he is. So he's still in the city. He decided to turn around, and now it's a STB1 versus a 1-to-1 with artillery support. So let's see that our 1-to-1 STB1 goes away a little bit. And this 1-to-1 B is going to be snacked very quickly by that STB1. Well, if the STB1 survives. Okay, so if we hit this one, he comes around the corner, and we hit this one, we should be able to kill him. Actually, we captured the base. So yeah, that was not a very good game. We didn't do a lot, but we had to reposition quite a few times. We got very lucky that we didn't die immediately at the beginning. I noticed that the shells are now extremely bright. You'll see them very far away, so it's very easy to pinpoint when somebody is shooting in an artillery piece. Then the same thing is that the AP shells, I expected the AP shells to do more damage. We penned the E3 from the side, and we did 465 damage. Now, I haven't really played a lot of artillery. It still is annoying if you do the stun. I think the stun shell still is the shell that makes the most sense, because stunning somebody is something that will give you additional damage, so you probably will go for this shell. I didn't really use the high explosive shell because that shell had a really weird trajectory. It didn't really work as well as the first high explosive shell, but this was just my very first game, and I shouldn't have been running around for this entire game. It would probably have been better for me if I had a place where I could sit and just, do my arty business, but I had to reposition and do several things to avoid being destroyed. So you know what? We're gonna jump into the HMC, the T92, because this one has a bigger gun, and I think this is even more interesting, especially if we hit something with an AP shell, since the T92 obviously doesn't have the same kind of accuracy. But yes, artillery is a bit different, but it's not like it's completely different from the usual artillery we've seen for such a long time. You think that artillery has ruined, or the update has ruined the SPGs? I'm not sure if they are ruined. I just think it's different. The damage output certainly looks a bit different, and there is now more, there's more depth to artillery than there has ever been before. I'm not sure if that is a bad thing, but this is just my second game now. Hopefully, we'll get into a game soon. I'm not really sure. I still have to figure it out. But I think more options, more shells, that's kind of cool. Gives you a bit more, more thought and more options, more opportunities to play kind of the best situation and, use the best shell for the best situation. But that still depends on, if you're artillery main or not. Maybe it's just because I'm not a main and the changes don't really appear that drastic to me. But I don't really think that the shell types have a huge impact. They're obviously different, but I still see myself using the stun shell probably more than before, because it's still the most useful shell out of the three. Because if the AP shells would do more damage, I think, at least if the other AP shell right there would have done 600-700 damage, maybe the incentive to use AP shells would be bigger. But I don't know. I'm just a guy who doesn't really play a lot of artillery. AP does have the best shell velocity, so it flies the fastest. But you know what? We're gonna start with an AP shell. That's how I started playing World of Tanks. When I played artillery first, the T92, I first always started with an AP shell. Then I went over to high explosive shells because you know, it's not as dramatic using AP shells at the beginning of the match. I think it's a lot more problematic if you're using AP shells at the end of the match, where you need to do like the damage and you need to support, and that's really difficult when you actually need to support your team. You cannot really be going out for those, you know, Hail Mary shots where you just hope that something happens and you do something. But still, like 372 millimeters of pen against the IS-4. I mean, that's gnarly. That's really nice. Oh, you think that did they nerf the M44? The M44, I think, was an artillery that needed a nerf because it was way out of line. But I haven't played it yet. I haven't played tier 6, so I don't know if we won't be able to hit that. So I don't really know if the M44 is that drastically different than it was before. But I remember that the M44 was a bit of a problem in the game, and I think they really needed to address it. I think the M44 really needed a bit of support. Let's see if we can actually... No, we cannot hit him because of the trajectory of the shell. So yeah, it wasn't like this back in the days. The AP shell did have the same trajectory. Now, because it's a different trajectory and you don't have like the same angles, you are a bit in the, let's say, in a worse position than you were previously. And we have a bit of a problem. We have to move again because they have an EBR 105 that's roaming around here. And I really do not want to get spotted by that little wheeled tank. We're not very fast, but we should be fast enough to get to the other side. Hopefully without him spotting us. Or else this game is even over before I fired a single shot. That would really suck. So they actually spotted us. But hopefully we can just get into this ditch and get away from all of that trouble over there. Like, if you're exposed like that, you can't do anything with artillery, especially at tier 10. Like, this EBR, I mean, that's still the most annoying tank with wheels. Just going around and you can't really do anything. Let's see if we can pen this STB. No way. Okay, we missed. It doesn't look good for us. I think we're pretty much dead at this point. Can't really do a lot with artillery in this match. Our team shouldn't have allowed them to get that far to the Western Front, and they're still not really able to fight back right here, so... I have a high explosive shot loaded. But it didn't really work out. Still, we managed to at least get some damage on the STB-1. So yeah, that was a very unsuccessful run with the T92, but unfortunately we can't really do anything right there. So let's see what happened to the M44. I remember this vehicle being extremely strong. You can still see I have quite a few crew members in this tank that are quite good, and it still has the heat shells. It has new high explosive shells that do 600 damage. So we're going to try out the M44. I remember that this tank was really, really powerful, and it was really annoying because it's a very high rate of fire. So I hope that they did something with the rate of fire. So the rate of fire is still very, very high with 17.48 seconds per shot. That's 3.43 rounds per minute. So that probably didn't change too much. It could have been better, but it doesn't seem to be that horrible. If we look into the T92, we can see that the DPM is still the same with a tier 6 compared to a tier 10 artillery piece. So the DPM didn't really change at all, but maybe they nerfed all of the gun characteristics and the game is just not that fun with the M44 anymore if they did nerf certain characteristics. Maybe it's not as fast as it used to be. But let's see how well the M44 does. It has lost HP, yes, so it's definitely a one-shot for certain tanks now. I think everyone hates EBRs and wheeled tanks. I don't really think that there are a lot of players in World of Tanks that enjoy wheeled tanks. Okay, let's see. So the reload time is probably not the problem with the M44. It still aims in quite fast, at least on the untrained eye. Doesn't seem to be that bad. Let's see what they spot for us. Building just collapsed over there. There's... yeah, unfortunately we don't have a shot on him. Except if he moves back all the way to this position. They're not playing the ditch right there. So that's a plus for us. Would hit the building. Damn it. There's like a really small angle where we can actually shoot right through. But with RNG and all the weird numbers in World of Tanks, it's going to be really difficult to actually land a shot like that. We wouldn't have been able to do any damage to him. There's a KV-2, and the KV-2 is right over there. Oh, we can actually hit the FV now. So that's a hit. That really didn't do a lot of damage. That was 144. But we are in M44, so I don't expect to do massive amounts of damage with my shells. Maybe we can hit this KV-2. I think he's tired of waiting. Okay, that one did more damage, definitely. And we did track him, so that KV-2 is probably going to die now. We're gonna try a heat shell after this other high explosive shell. And we have to help out this T-34-85. We're gonna try to hit this FV because he's out in the open. So another track shot. We did not stun him, but that wasn't necessary. They were able to take him out. So yeah, we didn't really do a lot of damage with those 3 shots. I think the M44 did more damage back in the days. 539 rounds, and 2 of them are the high explosive shells that do more damage. So yeah, they definitely did nerf artillery a little bit. So I can see where a lot of people are coming from when they think about that artillery has now finally been nerfed a bit, and I think that's something that's good for the game, probably, in the long term. Let's see if this E-25 runs away. He's still right there. Just doesn't care. Okay. So there's not a lot of targets that we can engage right now. Schwarzpanzer 58 over there. We have a Turtle 1. We have a Tiger 2. But we will not be able to do anything to the Turtle 1. So what we can do right now to actually help out the guys that are fighting in C5 and 6, we can move over here to the other side of K4. And right there, we actually would have like the opportunity to shoot into the C5, C6 area. That's where we can actually do some damage. Oh boy. That was not supposed to happen. So we've been spotted by the Schwarzpanzer 58. I don't have the best crew on this vehicle, so it looks like that he actually moved into the bush. And I was expecting them to push the Schwarzpanzer, but I kind of forgot about that. So yeah, I think we can put artillery to the side for now, just for a second, and we can get into a bit of a more serious topic of the high explosive shell changes. I think what I want to test out are definitely the KV-2, and I want to test out the British tank destroyers, because the high explosive shells will have quite a big of an impact into how they perform or how they will not perform. What we are going to be trying out is the FV. And we're gonna see if they changed anything with the HESH shell. So if you're playing this tank, I think what you're going to be running is mainly the premium HESH shell, which has 230 millimeters of pen. So if they did it correctly, if they implemented this correctly, what will happen is, if you know that there is a weak spot on a certain tank, you will be able to actually penetrate that tank. So I'm just gonna put this as a primary, and I'm gonna look for the KV-2. Let's see where I put my KV-2. There's my KV-2. Let's see if they changed anything with the high explosive shells on this vehicle. What you can also see is I don't really play my KV-2 a lot, so don't get upset. I don't have the best equipment on this vehicle, so I just have to put some on. I will put on at least gun rammer and the enhanced gun laying drive. We're going to see if we can actually buff this crew, because having a KV-2 that's not very powerful or very experienced is probably not something that you expect from a World of Tanks player. So we're just going to buff this crew out real quickly and see if we can get this crew up to date. At least have brothers in arms on every single one of the crew members. The rest we can figure out afterwards, so let's see. We're just gonna go for repairs right now, because we probably need to get out of a lot of weird situations. And my game was just about to crash, which probably would have been very nice. Okay, so let's see. Explosive shell, everything is okay. So we're gonna try out the KV2 real fast, and then we're gonna try out the FV, and we're gonna see how well those things will hold up now. It's a good matchup. There's only one artillery piece, and we can probably just play the heavy tank alley. Let's see if we can do any damage with the high explosive shells now, or if they really completely ruined it. I'm not really sure how well everything has turned out, but so far, I don't really know. The artillery changes are quite drastic in the end. Like, at least on the M44, I really noticed that the damage output has dropped, which isn't a bad thing per se. But maybe it will lead to the mass exodus of arty players, which could be the case. And yeah, I don't really know. Wargaming and their decisions are really, really weird from time to time. They don't really think things through. Especially when they're implementing certain new mechanics or they change old mechanics. But let's see. We have a 20-second reload time. I forget that when I play the KV2, that 20-second reload time is really, that's really harsh. And if we miss, it's even harsher. So there's a light tank in that bush. We already know that. There's a T-150 over there. There's a tank destroyer probably sitting in that bush on the hill over there, as we discussed right there. There he is. Not a lot what we can do right there. I'm gonna help out this Panther. I'm gonna roll over here and see if we can assist in the middle. And I hope that this Panther doesn't just die. He immediately gets hit by everything. Okay, so we just penned that VK2801. So that was a nice shot. 86 millimeters is enough to at least pen a VK. So that was very important to see if we would be able to do what we used to be able to do. So at least that is still the case. So we have a Chiri 835. So it looks like that still works, and artillery still works as well. But that was 2 penning hits in very quick succession, so can't really complain about that too much. I will fall back though. Nope, I cannot fall back because there's a T-29 behind me. So we have to stick to this position. Which is kind of bad because we know that the artillery is able to lob shells over this ridge line right here. And we have a problem with the Chiri over there. If we can kill the Chiri, we have a lot more maneuverability. Yep. He's using the stun shell. And only 26 damage. I can live with that. I think that's a fair number. I don't really want to be too aggressive right here because there's probably tank destroyers in the back as well. And we just lost quite a bit of support. The boogie dying right there. This is really awkward because there's a T-29 over there as well. But we have to kill this Chiri. We actually bounced the Chiri with a high explosive shell. How is that possible? We just bounced the Chiri. Okay, so as they mentioned, there are certain armor parts that are like now really powerful, or like where high explosive isn't going to be working out. So I need to find a weakly armored place, and I just missed that T150, which is not good. So you actually need to know the weak spots if you're firing high explosive shell. If you don't care for the weak spots and you just fire them somewhere at the tank, you are in for a bad time. But that's not supposed to happen. Like, high explosive, as they mentioned, should still be able to do damage even if you hit like a heavily armored plate, but it should do less damage. And that's really weird because we just didn't do damage with 2 hits right on the target, and that really sucks. So looks like it's a very inconsistent kind of tone. We really need to kill this Chiri, but he's over there. And there is another tank right on the other side of this hill. The T-34-1. Oh, he's actually up there. Oh, he's using the bushes quite well. So that's really awkward. Yeah. Yes, that with the Chiri was never supposed to happen. That even in the KV2, I expect to at least splash him right in the face. The Chiri doesn't have a lot of armor. We can check out the armor of the Chiri real quickly, because the Chiri doesn't have a lot of armor, and it's bouncing a Chiri twice at the front of the tank. Like, is the armor of a Chiri like above 90 millimeters thick? Because that doesn't make any sense at all. Wait, Chiri is Japanese. So let me check. The armor is 75 millimeters at the front of the hull and the turret. So there is no way that we just bounced a Chiri frontally with a high explosive shell. We have like 91 millimeters or 86 millimeters of pen. That is not possible. I want to check the tank in the garage real quickly, and I want to check the armor layout of this vehicle, because that is utter bullshit. That is utter nonsense that I just bounced with high explosive shells. That I bounced a Chiri twice. I want to see that. So we shot at the... No, I want to see what we did. We did critical damage to the Chiri on the tracks. So that was a track shot, supposedly. We hit the tracks and that exploded right next to the tracks, but it didn't destroy anything on the vehicle. The other shell hit the gun, but it didn't do any damage to the vehicle because the gun is probably like something that just doesn't transfer damage to the vehicle. So high explosive has just become extremely volatile in the different directions it can go. It can either be very rewarding or it can be extremely frustrating, and that's not something that high explosive was supposed to be. So that confuses me, because like if you hit the tracks now, the tracks don't absorb, like they absorbed all the damage, nothing happens, you don't do any damage because splashing the armor won't do anything or what, because that doesn't make any sense to me. We're going to be trying it out with the FV215B183 now. Maybe this tank will be a bit different. Yeah, but even hitting the gun mantlet, if you hit the gun mantlet still, it should still splash the tank. Like, I have 152 millimeters. That is like that pressure that happens on that part of the tank. It still should do damage. Like, it's not like it should not completely absorb the damage. I think it just is a bit cheap, and I don't really know what to think about it or think of it. But I'm not a big fan of a change such as that one, when high explosive all of a sudden aren't as effective as they should be in a situation like that. When a tank is really like 82 HP and you can basically kill it really quickly with any kind of high explosive shell, and you somehow bounce the tank twice, I just think it's ridiculous. Especially in a KV2, like, that is not rewarding gameplay. That's punishing in so many different ways, and I don't really think that is good gameplay at all. So let's see how we can do with this thing. I haven't really played the FV in a long time, so bear with me if I make weird, stupid decisions. Let's just see. Okay, there's a tank right there. He's been spotted. Let's blind fire. Not sure if that hit. Probably not, because they would have told us that that was a hit. Maybe we splashed. That would still count for something. Well, there's an object for 30 right there. He's just gonna push right through the middle. Yeah, Frenzy 100 at the back. I hope he just moves further into the middle. If he moves into the middle, I can actually pen him. Okay, that head shell still works. That's still something that works right there. But it was a side shot. We have 230 millimeters. The real test is going to be with tanks that have quite a bit of armor, so we'll have to reposition probably to the heavy tank sector over there. See if we can do some more damage with the other guys. But yeah, that was a good shot. That was an easy kill right there. He just moved into the middle and he didn't really care too much about where he was going. So I can't really complain at all with that situation right there. But with the KV2, that still annoys me. I'm going to be playing another round in the KV2 after this game, because I want to see just how bad they change certain things. We have to defend the base because actually our left side has just lost the control right there, so we'll have to stay here. We cannot push further on. We do have more than enough tanks to push that sector, but it looks like they have a really good defensive position right there. So what I'm going to be doing right now is I'm just gonna go over here, probably onto the hill, and see if I can assist these guys from back here. We're gonna lose this Panzer in the middle to this STB-1. That STB-1 has a better rate of fire, is faster, and has more HP than that Panzer, so that's not going to be good. We're gonna be having quite a bit of trouble in the middle now with that thing coming in. So let me go up this hill. I hope that they fall back further, because I cannot support them from up here if they're still in the ditch below. I have the feeling I changed something about this position, or maybe not, and I just haven't been up here in a long time. I can only help them if they move back a little bit. Okay, that pen. That really hurt. Okay, that just doesn't get old if you hit them for 1,800. But he's still alive. That's the bad news. And they are still coming in, so that E50M is going to get pushed quite aggressively by that tortoise. I hope that the tortoise has to actually... Oh no, he's sitting on top of him. What are you doing? No! He should have just waited. He should have just waited. Could have helped him. Yeah, either way we have to push them. It looks like we're gonna lose the other side in just a second. This STB-1 needs to take care of the Poggetto. We take care of the tortoise, and then we can maybe deal with the other guys coming in. If the STB-1 can spot for me, I can do some serious damage. Okay, so, yeah. I think that makes sense. So we shot the tortoise right there, and we only did 400 and... what was it? 78 damage. That makes sense, because the armor right there is quite thick, so... I think that is an okay change. So it does... at least for the FV it makes sense, because it is a very heavily armored vehicle. And to be able to just do it like 700, 800 damage right there is probably ridiculous, but... I think it still is going to be quite different. We'll have to get used to these changes, and I'm not really sure if we'll ever be able to get used to them. This is kind of a no turning back moment for World of Tanks, because they actually have gone through with these changes, and now they have to stick to them. There's the Kunze-Panzer right there. Okay, we finish him off, but now we are like a huge lit up target. Please bounce. He bounced. Let's go. We just lost our STB-1. Okay, so this is the thing. If we hit the upper plate of the 60 TP, right? If we hit the upper plate, it's going to do a very limited amount of damage. Yes, that's exactly what I thought was going to be happening. So, in this situation, it probably makes more sense to fire AP shells, where you are really able to actually penetrate that armor piece and be able to deal the damage, instead of, you know, relying on that bloody... Oh, there we go. 1,300, so in the end, we still managed to do 6k damage. And that was a very lucky shot on the 60 TP, but we still got like 2 pens with high explosive, or with the HESH shell. We got the pen on the Object 430, we got the pen on the Poggetto. But as soon as you hit a vehicle that is really heavily armored, you're gonna run into a lot of problems with high explosive shell. And you really need to find the weak spot. So it only works if you fire at like the lower plate, and if you're able to always find like the weak spot. So if the tank is hull down and has a really, really good turret, you will no longer be able to deal, like, I'd say, you know, a good piece of damage every like 15, 20 seconds. If you're in a tank such as the KB2 or the 1A3, you're only going to be able to do like a very limited amount of damage. Maybe you do 200 damage in a KB2. So that 200 damage is maybe not worth peeking and shooting in the tank. So that is something that's really kind of awkward, and I'm not really sure if it's a good change. I think a lot of people will be quite upset with these high explosive changes, because they really change everything around. Armor now is extremely good. Now, if we play the mouse, for example, we're going to be playing the mouse in like the next game, because that is probably one of the most heavily armored tanks in the game. And if we just play that thing and basically we run into a 183 or anything else, what are they supposed to do with their HESH shells? Their HESH shells previously didn't even do that much damage, but now, since it cannot locate the weakest part of armor on your vehicle anymore, it's just going to be an auto bounce, or just maybe, like, you're going to be seeing bounces on a mouse with HESH shells or high explosive shells. Now, I know a mouse obviously can be defeated with heat shells, standard AP shells, but think about that. That all of a sudden, there is an opportunity or a possibility of people being able to hammer on a mouse with high explosive shells and not even do 50 or 100 damage. They do no damage. They just bounce off that vehicle. They do nothing. And yes, vehicles like the mouse, vehicles such as the Jagdpanzer E100, they will really benefit from the high explosive changes. Light tanks will probably benefit from the high explosive changes as well. If you hit the tracks or something like that, they all of a sudden have like an additional, second chance, which they previously did not. Because if you hit the tracks, okay, you hit the tracks, you retract the vehicle. But the same thing is you also hit the armor, kind of the splash hits the armor, and it does like fragment into the tank, and it searches the weakest spot of armor, and that's probably like right next to um, the I don't even know, like track. So right there we just penned a KV2, and this KV2 is sitting out there. I'm just reloading. He's not even moving. So oh, he spotted me. He spotted me. So that first shot, that was really lucky. That second shot, as you can see, we didn't penetrate the screen. So we actually bounced off the gun mantlet, and that's what they meant with, high explosives not being able to actually go through gun mantlet. He was firing AP right there, but that one didn't pen me. But it's super weird because we just penned that KV2 on the side with a high explosive shell, and we knocked him out with a single shot. But we weren't able to do damage to the other KV2 because we hit the gun mantlet. So, okay, you need to really worry about gun mantlets now if you're playing this tank. But if you have a weak side of the turret, you can actually one-shot him with a high explosive shell. So it's super weird. This is super weird if you think about it. We just did like 1,920 damage very quickly right there, because the KV2s right there weren't really paying that much attention. So that's really weird. Now, that's something I need to get used to. Miss on the Chaffee. That Tog. So let's see. Let's look at the Tog. Let's see if we can finish off this Tog with a single shot. That Chaffee. Look at that. That Chaffee just bounced the high explosive shell because it hit his tracks. And I mean, I guess it makes sense, but we finish him off with that other shot. So this is really confusing. This is something you need to get used to if you're playing World of Tanks now. Like, if you've played so much World of Tanks like me, and you've seen everything that this game has to offer, and all of a sudden you run into this is really weird. I'm not really sure how to judge it. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? But I'm just gonna say it's really weird. It's a weird way of playing World of Tanks, especially with the KV2. We just penned 2 KV2s really quickly. They didn't pay enough attention, and they paid the price. They paid the ultimate price for that. And in the end, that was very quick. So yeah, a lot of weird changes in this game. A lot of weird changes. I would really like to know what QuickUBaby thinks of these changes, and if he has made a video about World of Tanks and patch 1.13, because it could really be one of those things that just has potential to lead to a maxed exodus. Just a lot of players leaving the boat because they have had enough of all the changes, all of the disappointments. But yeah, that is certainly something we'll have to get used to. I don't think that Wargaming will be rolling back all of the changes at once. And yeah, these high explosive based vehicles will just have a very different kind of feel to them. And we probably cannot change that at all. So I had like really weird games with these 6 games I played. Artillery obviously was not doing very well. We weren't able to do a lot of damage with artillery. You know what? We're gonna be playing the object 705A before we play the mouse, because this tank is one of the vehicles that I hated the most when it's in hull down positions. If this tank is in hull down position, I did occasionally switch over to high explosive shells and just whack the turret and, you know, see if I can annoy the guy to an extent where he would just push out so we can actually do some real damage to him. But I mean, the question now is, can they still do damage to me if I'm in a hull down position? The answer should be no, they cannot, because my turret is really, really strong. I think even my upper turret part should be really, really strong. So they should be, you know, having quite a hard time going through my my tank. So if I do engage a FV4005, which has only like a very limited amount of armor, and I load 90, like this 90 millimeter penetrating high explosive shell, I can actually penetrate the FV4005 fully, even through the tracks, because we have pen on the high explosive shells now. Like, you can pen the tracks. So, and he should not be able to do any real damage to me. Like, that is absurd if you think about it, because all of a sudden, high explosive shells for the super heavy tanks can be really effective against tanks that are not very well armored, because if you aim for the weak spots, you will probably get rewarded in a heavy tank, but they have to find the weak spot on you on a super heavy tank. And you have so much armor, like, where are they supposed to find that weak spot? And, like, how are they supposed to utilize the weak spot to their advantage? That is really awkward if you think about it. So that was really awkward as well from that T62A. What I think will happen in this game is that people will be utilizing a lot more premium shells from now on. So like right there's a FV. If I would have now loaded high explosive, I would have been able to hit that FV for basically all of his HP. No, about like 840 HP. He would have had a really bad day. So I can just sit back here, you know, load some premium shells, as I'm doing right now for that 705 in the back. And I can just sit here, you know, side scrape all day long. This 60 TP shouldn't be able to do any damage to me at all, because he's in a really awkward position. I hate that. Look, he's firing high explosive at me. He just fired high explosive and he just bounced off my turret. And yes, what is he supposed to do? Okay, I just hit his gun. That was not a very good shot. Look at that. That 60 TP is firing high explosive at me, and he's not able to do anything. Like, I know he shouldn't be firing high explosive, but still, he's probably just testing it out. So he's gonna die, and I think that just confirms it perfectly. Like, if you're firing high explosive, you are dumb. If you're engaging a super heavy tank and you're using high explosive shells, you are not smart. You're going to be punished, and the high explosive or the super heavy tanks will just get absolutely rewarded, because nobody can really scratch them if they're in a hull down position. Not even artillery, because artillery has also been nerfed. So really weird situation right now. Please go away. Oh my god, he just backed into me. I couldn't shoot him. But I'm gonna be loading a high explosive shell, just so you know. Okay, so that just happened. So let's see. I have a high explosive shell right here, right? So this tank, let's say his back part is like really weakly armored. Like it's probably the armor part that has the least amount of armor on this tank. So I'm just gonna be seeing where I can hit this tank and do some damage with high explosive shells. So, okay, the back of the tank is also too heavily armored for me to do any real damage with high explosive shells. But yes, I think that's something we will be seeing a lot more of playing this game. The Object 705A tanks such as this, you know, the Object 279E, they're all going to be benefiting from these changes. They're going to be benefiting from these changes quite drastically. And now you don't have any tools except for premium shells to be effective against these vehicles, and sometimes premium shells cannot even cut it, especially against the Object 279E. I would really like to own that vehicle right now just to see what will happen if we drive around with the Object 279E, because that is not going to look very, very pretty. And that's something that... And that was a very clean victory. We only lost 2 vehicles. They were absolutely outmatched, very quickly taken care of and disposed of. 5 minutes, and actually these 5 minutes, like, it wouldn't have taken 5 minutes at all. Probably could have been done, like, we won this game at minute 12. So yeah, World of Tanks finishes even quicker now, and the matches, they get even shorter. Like they haven't gotten short enough in the last couple of years. So I don't even know. That's a very weird situation that we're finding ourselves in right now. So the Type 4 Heavy, right? I just unlocked this vehicle and I put some crew onto this tank. I haven't really played around with the Type 4 Heavy a lot, but you know what? We're gonna try something. You know what? We're gonna first play the mouse, and then we're gonna have one last game, because I don't want to stream for too long. I want to have one last game, and we're gonna be playing it in the Type 4 Heavy, because these armor changes will have quite a bit of a drastic impact on certain vehicles. So we're gonna be playing the mouse first. Let me see, where's the mouse? The mouse should be really disgusting now. Like certain certain ammo types shouldn't be doing anything to this vehicle. Like hash, high explosive, like all of those things, they should really not have any impact on the mouse. Okay. I just feel like pushing the forest with the mouse. This huge beast. I don't really think that there is going to be a lot of like a lot of vehicles in there that can really be that dangerous to me, unless they actually manage to flank my sides or get behind me, but if I can keep my front towards them, I think I should be doing quite well. And also, if I would get some support from certain medium tanks and maybe other heavy tanks, but that is obviously up for debate if they are going to be assisting me or not. But I think we can make it work with the mouse inside of the forest. Maybe, maybe not. We're gonna have an object 705A with us. At least that should probably help us with the support aspect. And also an AMX M451. So that is a really nice tier 9 tank. A very decent tier 10 vehicle, nice tier 9, and also another nice tier 10. I don't know how I hit that E50, but somehow I managed to do that. That's really nice about the mouse. It's so slow that you can fire on the move, and it's like practically pinpoint accurate because it's like so slow that you don't really need to aim. Our AMX 5120 is not going to get out there alive. That's what I expected. Unlucky. Oh, we just missed the AMX 50B. Oh, there's so much shit in this forest. And we were just penned by... Yeah, I have to be the side armor for these guys. So I need to really see if I can assist them.
Enemy vehicle is damaged.
That was a bad shot.
Opponent is damaged.
Oh, we're about to be overrun in just a second.
Let's go.
Another one for the AMX 5120. Okay, there are not a lot of tanks here that have HE or something like that that can really be dangerous to me. This E4 doesn't know how to engage a mouse when the mouse is as bad as this one. That was a really bad shot. I'm just gonna load a APCR shell for this E4. You cannot get like... I don't know, wait. Just bounced the object. I don't even know. Okay, I just hit the tracks or something like that. I have to kill this E4. Don't do anything to this 50B. We somehow are still alive. I don't even understand. Keep this guy interested, and there goes the 50B. He's pretty much toast. Yeah, if you know your angles, if you know how to play your tank, you will not have a problem with this game. I'm not gonna press over the ridgeline. Just gonna wait for a second. And now we're gonna go. Go. Kill the E4. Load AP shells again, because we don't need APCR anymore. And go for the AMX 5120. We're just gonna ignore the STB-1 behind us, because we don't have the ability to turn around and kill this guy. So let's see if we can help out our object 704. 705, I mean. The E100 is low HP. That one was a pen, definitely. Shouldn't be able to pen me, that E100. Unless, yes, that was a bad decision. Okay, we finish him off. And there we go, 5k damage. We bounce 6,200. And we bounce another 390 damage right there from the object 430. I don't know what kind of ammo I've loaded on this vehicle right now, because it's showing me... Okay, so I have AP loaded. So that was an AP shell that killed the E100, not an APCR shell. Because if we load the APCR, as you can see, we loaded the APCR. So yeah, the mouse. Still a really good tank. Very fun to use, and absolute beast if your opponents just have a really hard time shooting you when they don't really know your weak spots. But that was a good game, definitely. That was a nice game. Good win. Good use of armor. We don't really see a lot of these games anymore. They are quite rare. We should get most XP. No, we didn't even get most XP. Like, that doesn't even make us, like, any sense at all. Either way, that was a good game. The mouse, still a really good tank, especially after the changes. So what I really want to figure out right now is how the Type 5 or the Type 4 deal at Tier 9. Especially the Type 4. Like, this thing has high explosive shells. They may not be the best, and also this is like the stock gun, but if you can actually pen these tanks now, and they can pen you with high explosive or with AP or APCR, like, it would be really, really kind of weird and funny to see all of a sudden being able to, you know, do damage to vehicles when they can't do anything to you. Let's see if we can load some high explosive shells first. There we go, 64 millimeters of pen. That's not a lot. That's basically nothing. This is also going to be the last game for tonight. I'm quite a bit tired, and then I'm going to be calling it a day probably afterwards. I'm not really sure what I think about all of the changes. They are weird. That's all I can say at the moment. We probably have to get used to a lot of these new things, and I'm not sure if I'm willing to stick around for complete new experience of World Tanks once again, because I think I've had enough World Tanks for a lifetime. So we'll have to see what will happen with this game. What I'm really interested in is definitely the artillery changes, like how arty players feel with the arty change. There's probably going to be a lot of moaning and annoyance. That's at least what I'm expecting. So right there we pen the Alpine Tiger with a shot. Or we managed to do damage because we hit the cupola for like 98. Obviously that's quite hilarious. It's no damage at all, but doesn't really matter. We're just gonna push right through because we're in a Type 4 heavy, and we're gonna see if we can do some damage to these guys while they're just staying there. I hope he didn't penetrate my cheek. He's also firing APCR. How is everyone firing APCR in this game? Okay, one hit. Could have been worse. Artillery is super annoying as well. We are going to be moving further a little bit. We still have a 1,600 HP, so it's still going to be quite enough HP to deal with these guys. But I'm expecting to be able to use my armor. Let's see if we can get to this window. This Alpine Tiger really, he really wants to get one right in his face, so let's not keep him with. We bounced him. Obviously we bounced that piece of junk. Oh my god. Bounce him again. Oh my god. I'm just gonna load the premium shells. That didn't make any sense that we bounced him there again. Oh no. Okay, T-26, you stick right there. You stick to that Alpine Tiger. And I will take care of this Kozlovsky. God damn it. Obviously, we didn't do damage. It's just gonna use the angles that I have on this tank. I've lost way too much HP. Oh, he bounced. He was using the wrong part right there. Yeah, that was a bit of misplay. Was a bit too careless in that situation, and we lost our VK. Should have probably also had a fully upgraded Type 4. But, yeah, we're working on it. Not going to be a win, I think. This is not going to be a good game. A lot of HP was lost. They have the hikes, the HP advantage, so we'll have to deal with that in another game. So yeah, we're gonna finish it off. Thanks for watching. The high explosive changes and the artillery changes, they are something. I don't really know how to express what I'm feeling right now. It's probably just confusion and irritation. I don't really know how they thought that this was a good idea to change it that drastically, but we'll have to get used to it. The backlash could be quite severe, but that is Wargaming's doing. That's how they wanted to go about with these things, and I think that especially some of the changes are way over the top. The high explosive changes are quite drastic in my opinion, and we'll just have to figure out how we deal with that in the future. So until then, I guess have a good Thursday evening, and I'll see you guys in the next video.